Sean Anderson from HOXO Media. Good morning. How you doing?
I'm well, Pete. It's strange to be having the same chat, but on the other side of the table this week.
I was going to say, we all know that you're a podcast extraordinaire, but how many times have you been on this side of the fence?
I think about four or five.
So
yeah, not many.
So you still see.
There's a novelty. There's a novelty to it.
Mate, this is the second time we've spoken today. We've already chatted about an hour ago when I was attending your HOXO Media Academy.
Yes, mate. Yeah. How did you find today's session?
Oh, good. It was good. You obviously got us to do some homework and some market research and start speaking to our target audience, and then trying to tie that into how we then speak to our market. So the penny is dropping. Sean.
Yeah.
But mate,
that's what I'm trying to do, mate. I'm trying to drop a huge penny on top of the industry, which is the plan.
You are.
It dropped for me a few years ago, and it's. I feel like I've been on an education journey across the space for 3 years, and now COVID has just accelerated everything. The amount that people talk about marketing, think about marketing, engage with marketing in 3 months has gone, as I'd say, has accelerated faster than the last 3 years. So I'm actually really excited about where we're all heading as a result of this. But the academy's been great. We'll talk about that, I'm sure. But
we will.
There is a process to this stuff, and that's what I'm trying to show people like yourself.
Yeah, and mate, we'll get into it. Now, mate, just before we went live, I've already given the listeners a bit of an introduction into who Sean Anderson is. For those who don't know you, would you mind, in your own words, introducing yourself?
Yes, sure. So, of course, I'm Sean, the CEO of HOXO Media. So we're a marketing agency that help recruitment businesses win business online. So I started the business in just over 3 years ago. So March 2017, I launched the brand. Really, having been a recruiter for just under 7 years. And I'd never done a day in marketing. So I launched the marketing agency as a recruiter, which is just mental. But now I've got two businesses. So I've got a marketing agency and I've got a recruitment business called Connects. And we are about 21 people globally. Majority of our team are in London, but we did hire remote people before lockdown. And that's going to accelerate now. Just, it's going to be a different business. But yeah, we work with recruitment companies all over the world. So I've got 57 live recruitment clients that we're managing their brand for in terms of agency. Yeah. And now today I've got 75 recruitment owners that I'm coaching to build personal brand, which includes you. So if people don't see an improvement in what you're doing in the next few months,
we're in trouble.
It's going to come back on me now.
I probably should have kept it to myself.
Yeah, probably. Nah, you'll be fine.
Well, thank you very much for being involved, mate. This podcast is called Recruitment Journeys. And the title of this particular episode is the recruiter who became a marketeer. And if you haven't heard one of these podcasts before, Sean, it's as it says on the tin, we delve into your recruitment journey. We speak to selected identities from the recruitment industry. We talk about their journey in the hope to inspire and motivate others who might listen to what you've done with your career and say, look, I like what that guy did. It resonates, it inspires me, it motivates me, or educates me. And so you are the guy, you are the recruiter who became a marketeer without any marketing experience, and we're going to delve right into that. Now, my opening question is usually, how and why did you get into the crazy world of recruitment? But I'm going to be a bit cheeky. I'm going to steal the opening question that you've been using throughout your RAG podcast, which is, You've been asking everybody what has their own personal lockdown experience been like. So mate, right back at you. What's your lockdown experience been like?
Okay. It's been good. It's been interesting. So I live in East London, place called Hainault, which anyone, if you've heard of it, it's the last stop on the Central Line, where eastbound, unless you go into Epping, which is further. And I live at the tube stop. So you step outside the tube, my flat is like directly opposite. It's literally less than 100 yards, right? Yeah. The reason I'm saying that is because I felt like my life was on the tube into work, and my office is in Bethnal Green in East London on the Central Line. So I just lived this like back and forward journey on the Central Line. to my flat, to my office, to my flat, to my office. And the biggest change has been that. Like, I haven't done that. I've been once because we got fucking burgled and I had to go and see the office space. But so my lockdown journey has been like staying in one place, which I've genuinely enjoyed. I live with my wife and my little French bulldog. So we've been spending more time together. She's bonded with the dog because I used to take him to the office, but I don't anymore. Obviously, he's at home, and she takes him in the day while I'm working. And as a business, we've had an interesting journey. So we closed the office a week before, like everyone in the UK did, because all of our team are on laptops. We use Zoom and we use Google Chat and all these things every day. So there was no necessity to go into the city. And I was recording podcasts the week of when I closed the office. And if you listen to a couple of my shows in that week, Ben Alexander was the last episode I recorded in the office. This was on the Wednesday, the day before I shut the office, and I still sound so naive. Like, I don't get what's going on. I'm saying things like, it'll come and go. It's not going to last. Blah blah blah. Anyway, so I didn't shut the office thinking it was. I was actually saying goodbye to the office. I was like, we'll give it a week, see what goes on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are we now? Nearly 3 months on,
mad.
And I've got used to living like this. I've been exercising like mad. I don't know if you saw my post on Saturday about the 75 hard challenge that I completed.
Yeah. So it's done that. You finished that now, right?
Finished it. I'm still living the same way because it's ingrained. But one of the things in lockdown, I realized in the first week, I was drinking like Guinness cans in the afternoon, which sounds ridiculous, but I love a Guinness. And I was like, I found myself I was so stressed with what was going on. I was having a few beers and I was like, this ain't good for me. And then I looked ahead of me and I thought, this could be long term, this could be short term. But the one thing I can't afford as a business owner is to be having shit days. I just can't afford it mentally, physically. So many people rely on me, both in my business and clients, that I can't. So this 75 hard challenge I'd read about, I'd actually listened to a podcast about a year before. I was like, there's no excuse now. And a mate of mine had just done it. I was like, there's always a wedding, there's always a party, there's always a reason why I wouldn't commit 75 days to not drinking alcohol, to training twice a day, to eating no cheat meals. Anyway, I said I was going to do it. And I've done it. And that has been the one thing in lockdown that I've enjoyed. I've had this routine where I've woke up early, I've read 10 pages of a business book, I've drank a gallon of water a day, I've exercised twice, I've had no shit food, I've not drank alcohol. I've just been like a bloody Buddhist monk for 75 days. But coming out of it, I feel so much better. The business is in decent shape, and we've achieved a lot of stuff that I don't think I would have had I not locked myself in that way.
Oh, mate, it's a unique opportunity just to focus and crystallize and find time and find space to look at things that you simply would not have had a chance to. It's there's so many silver linings from COVID-19, so many, and somebody will write a book about it one day. Oh, mate, cool. We're going to come back to all of that, but getting back into the recruitment journey, how and why did you get into the crazy world, the crazy industry known as the recruitment industry?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because we're miles away now from each other, but it was where you are that got me into recruitment. So I left uni. I did a sports degree in Sheffield, and I got a job in sales. I was knocking on doors straight after uni for 6 months, and I was selling charities door to door in like Doncaster, Sheffield, Rotherham, and Barnsley. And I was basically walking around council estates, getting chased by dogs for a living. But I did well, and it was 100% commission. I did really well, but after 6 months, I just hated it. I hated walking down the street in the pissing rain. I didn't like the way it was like commission only. It was a bit of a pyramid scheme. And my business partner today, I'm my best mate. He was going into schools doing supply teaching. Anyway, I followed him. I became a teacher. I became a PE teacher, and I did 3 years in Sheffield as a PE teacher post uni. And then we hit like at 24 years old, me and Amma, my best mate, and we were like, my other best mate, James, we were like, we need to get out of here and just do something with life. Like I felt too young to be a teacher really, because I was closer in age to the kids than a lot of the staff. And I was like, this is a bit weird. So we went traveling, did Asia, landed in Melbourne with the plan of traveling the East Coast and doing what the classic backpackers do. But I don't know, in Sheffield, I quite liked my life of working, partying at the weekend, had a bit of money in my pocket. Didn't have a lot, but I had a routine. And in Asia, I really missed routine. Like I struggled with, there's only so many sunsets you can enjoy before, and with no money coming in, and it pissed me off. And I got to Melbourne, and within a week, I realized I didn't want to backpack. And I told you on my podcast how
Yeah.
in Melbourne, I was shocked by the prices. I remember going to the hostel on the first day and I spent like $100 on a towel, a padlock, my route. What would I have spent for a week in Asia? I spent in an hour in Melbourne. I was like, this ain't going to fly. So a mate of mine, I got a load of shitty jobs. I was a barista. I was ripping up carpets at Avalon Airport. I was doing all these horrible jobs. And then my mate got a job at Randstad in Melbourne, and he spoke to a rectorate, a guy called Gary Grayneth. I don't know if you know him. He used to, I think he's gone back into.
Yeah, I remember Gary. Yeah.
So story with Gary, if he's listening, he might remember this, but he probably won't. But anyway, my mate James got a job at Randstad, and I was like, "What is recruitment?" And he told me, and I was like, "Sounds wicked." And then we met a lot of lads in a bar one night that were all in. We were just drinking. They were in like suits. They just looked like they had more money and more fun than we did. So we got chatting. They were all English, Irish, Scottish, like a joke. And they were all in recruitment. So I was like, right, James is in recruitment, they're in recruitment. So me, my brother, and my best mate started BDing ourselves into recruitment companies. So I was ringing recruitment companies all day in Melbourne, just asking if I could go and interview for them. And I was getting knocked back. So I went to the rectorate that got Gary Graynor for a job. And I went in and he said to me, he interviewed me. And I didn't understand the difference between blue collar and white collar. I didn't know. I was a fucking teacher. Like, no one had taught me that stuff. I didn't do a business degree. I didn't have a clue, but I could talk and I was confident. I didn't dress very well. I remember I had a bit of a scrubby beard and I had like this shit like blazer jacket and shirt that I'd thrown together. I was living in a fucking hostel. I mean, what did I have? And anyway, I remember the question that Gary asked me. He said, do you want to work in blue collar or white collar? And I thought blue chip companies must have meant blue collar, like that. So I was like, oh, blue collar, of course. Like, I want to be at the top, blah, blah, blah. And he must have gone, this guy's an idiot. So he emails me going, I'm going to represent you. Week goes by, heard nothing. Classic first experience with a recruiter. Phoned him up. Anyway, I got an email off him saying, Randstad no longer take overseas candidates at the moment, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, fuck's sake. Anyway, Randstad were advertising. So I applied directly. And I got a job. So I went through that process and got a job in the IT division. And then the funny thing is, this guy, Gary, didn't remember me and phoned me within a week of working at Randstad.
No. And headhunted you.
Yeah. And I was like, I said to him, I said, are you joking? He goes, what? I said, I met you about a month ago and you told me Randstad weren't looking for overseas candidates. Anyway, he didn't remember me. So I emailed him his own email back. And I left my signature on it. So I was like, Randstad no longer take overseas candidates by Sean Anderson at Randstad. And I didn't speak to him again.
So hang on. There's two things wrong with that story. First of all, he didn't remember you. Secondly, he's essentially, so he was representing Randstad a few weeks prior. And then,
but he obviously never sent me, because if he did, I wouldn't.
Yeah, but a few weeks later, he's trying to pull you out.
Yeah, I didn't get it. And at the time, I didn't understand anyway. So I did a year and a half in Melbourne. I was in the IT division, and then I got put into this Victorian government team that Randstad won the Victorian government contract. I think some like Hudson or something were kicked off. So Randstad won the tender, and they built this team of basically Brits that were on visa that they could go out and work without any commission. I was on no commission structure. It's mental to think about. I had no commission structure at the time. So they were like, it's a new team. I was doing IT. We had it was about 8 or 9 of us doing technology, business support, finance, all in a team. And we were given this long list of Victorian government state departments and emails and names, but no one knew us. And everyone already had signed terms with Randstad. So it was like 7% or something. It was really low level. But they were like, go out and win business. So I didn't know. But in looking back, it was the best training I could have ever had, because I basically phoned up every government department I could get hold of, told them I'd just won the tender. Could I go and meet them for a coffee? Yeah. So I got loads of meetings, and I got up to like 28 contractors inside a year, but I earned no money on it, like any money on it. And I think I got like $1,000 bonus once, and I was like, but because the margins were so low, and they just kept telling us they were creating this commission structure. I was all right, to be honest, for a while. But then my little brother was working for a company called Sirius in Melbourne, Sirius Technology.
Yeah, I know Sirius. Yeah.
A guy called Tay Ifer probably worked for. Yeah. And Jake was working hard. He was there was 4 of them in an office. I was working on a 300-man floor in Randstad, thinking I was the man. And my little brother was working like longer hours, doing no deals, being beasted. Anyway, Jake had a month where he earned $20,000 commission. And I was like, what the fuck? I've been working. I've got 28 runners out, and you've just done 4 deals or something and got 20 grand. I was like, anyway, that really affected me. I was like, I'm in the wrong place. So I had a decision to make at that point. Do I want to move again in Melbourne, or do I want to come back to the UK? And everyone in Australia told me that, the UK was like the Premier League of recruitment. It's where, they'd all moved out there because it was so competitive. So I told you on my show, I wasn't actually in love with Australia. I was like, I'm having a good time, but I definitely felt like London was more exciting than Melbourne in my head. I think I've been to London twice in my life. So I moved to London in the Olympics 2012, and I joined a company called Venquis, who were about 7 or 8 people at the time. I joined a lady called Claire Eads, who hired me. Barnaby and Steve, the owners. Barnaby works with. He's in the academy now, which is crazy.
Yeah. Mate, why did you join Venquis? Presumably, you had other options. Why did you select Venquis? And who did you turn down?
I used another rector, a guy called Steve O'Nions, who was based in Reading. So I had a girlfriend at the time who I'd met in Asia. We'd spoken. She was living in England. Another reason why I came back. She put me in touch with him. He got me 3 interviews. With Venquis, Nigel Frank International, and GCS. And again, David Bloxham, who interviewed me then, is a guy I know really well, and he was on my show. But anyway, at the time, I looked at all these, and anyway, I whittled it down to 3. I had telephone interviews from Melbourne, liked them all, went to London, met them all. I think the reason I joined Venquis was I was really impressed with Claire, who hired me. Like, she was just incredible. Like the knowledge, the stature, the way she went about it. The way she ran the process, it was quite intense, and at first it put me off, but then I was like, she's learned everything about me. Like, she's got under the bonnet much deeper than the others, and I was like, if I'm going to learn from anyone, it's going to be her. And then the next thing was, at the time, Nigel Frank were recruiting across the globe, so it was all phone based in the office. She was like, well, we meet everyone in the city. It was insurance recruitment in Lloyd's of London. And in Melbourne, all I'd done was walk around coffee shops all day. So I was like, well, that's going to be even more similar to what I did in Melbourne. So I joined them, and it was a great decision. It was an amazing. I mean, the first few months was really hard, really hard. Like, moving to London, having no money, living in Clapham, which is the most tempting. It's like Magaluf or something. It's like got the highest rate of 25 to 35-year-olds in a square mile in Europe. Yeah. And I've got no money. I'm on a pretty crap basic salary. My flat's more expensive than it was in Melbourne. My mates are wanting to drink. Like, more, I've got loads of mates that I knew from uni and stuff around. Like, temptation was crazy. And so I got about 6 months. I remember I did about 4 to 5 months in London. And I joined in in September. And I did my first deal in November. And I didn't do another one till January. So... And I know I came in with a bit of they thought I was going to be like, this guy got 28 runners in Melbourne, coming back, he's confident. They definitely had an expectation I was going to be good. Yeah. And people in the office did as well. There was only a few in the office, but I know they were like looking at me like, this guy's coming in with a status, he's got to be good. But when I didn't do a deal, I did 1 deal in 5 months. I remember there was probably a bit of a murmur around the office. Is he actually any good, or does he just chat? And I felt it as well. I was probably doubting. I was really doubting myself that Christmas. I remember it.
So what was the problem? Anyway, why weren't you doing deals?
Just general market knowledge. Like, I was just, Lloyd's of London Insurance is a square mile. It's super competitive. There's like 200 companies that fit underwriters and brokers that they do specialty insurance for things like, aviation, marine. They'll insure Beckham's feet and things that are just bespoke. And although the roles I recruited in Australia were similar, like business analyst, project manager, understanding the nuances of the market, understanding the technologies, it took time, and it's a really people-driven market. So, you'd ring a contractor and they'd be like, oh, I'm not sure about that. And then they'd phone the recruiter they knew and liked and say, I've just been called about this job. Can you represent me? And I'd lose out to people because I was new and I didn't realize. But anyway, so it just by default took a bit of time. And I was still settling into England and London. And then I broke up with that girl. And, you forget that about people. They've got lives outside of fucking recruitment that affect them. And I also, as well, the reason when I moved to Australia, I didn't become a teacher was because I couldn't. My qualification wasn't valid. So it was only, the way I qualified as a teacher was only valid in the UK. It's called a GTP at the time, and the PGC is the traditional route. So Australia didn't recognize it. So I didn't have an option to be a teacher in Australia. So being a recruiter was kind of, I used to tell girls on a night out in Australia that I was a teacher that worked in recruitment. If they asked me what you did, I'd be like, I'm a school teacher, but I work in recruitment.
Is that because you thought there was more credibility to being a teacher, or you were embarrassed?
Yeah, and I also thought, probably, and also, I didn't see myself doing it that long. I was like, I'm doing it because I'm in Australia. I'm a teacher. That's what I qualified to be a fucking teacher, right? Yeah. So when I moved to London, I really struggled with that because my qualification was valid again. So I was like, but I knew if I wanted to get a P job, I would have had to move anywhere in the country where it's the most high demand. There's so many P graduates and not many jobs. So I was like, I could move to Wales or Scotland or anything. Like one of my mates had to move to like Bangor to get a job. And I was like, I want to live in central London. So anyway, I really struggled with that. But then I got over that. And then in the new year, things just turned for me. So this was January 2013. I remember breaking up with that girl and then everything just changed. So as the weather turned in 2013, all the stuff I'd been doing started to come through, and I started doing deals and I started doing more deals. And I got to about 20 contractors with an average margin of $2,000 a month. So I was billing 40K a month in about September of that year. Wow. So in 12 months from zero, I was banging in like equivalent of a 400K a year biller. And I obviously hadn't seen a lot of that money because it's with contract commission, you drip fed it as it's, but you're building. I used to sit there on the underground going back from meetings going, if I do this deal doing my calculations, I'm going to earn $4,000 commission this month. I'm like, fucking hell. Yeah. And it got me so excited. So I just started knocking in deals for fun. I started really understanding it. I was out and about all the time, and me and Claire had an amazing relationship. And I remember that was just like such a good point in my career. And then the business obviously identified that, we need to hire now. This guy needs to have a team. And I was 27. I was perfect to be a leader, but I struggled with that because in my head I was like, do they want to do that for me or for them? Like, I'm just about to earn good money now. I'm just about to earn really good money. Like, is it for them or for me? But anyway, I started managing and doing team leader work and supporting people. And then I remember in the third year, I earned 200,000 in London, and it was incredible. I remember getting a paycheck of over 28,000, and I had to send it to my family and be like, look, my parents didn't earn that in a year. And I was like, I just earned that in a month. And my family was just gobsmacked. You
gave that money to your parents, to your family?
No, I sent the paycheck to show them what I'd earned.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I wish I did. I'm not that guy, that nice guy. What I did, I paid for them to go to India for 5 months to travel off the back of that. But I just couldn't get my head around what I'd achieved. And I was like, billing 700,000 on your own, it's big and you earn a lot. And then that was the turning point where I was looking at building I didn't know what to do, but I thought I'm gonna build a business now. I've got to do this. Like, I'm excited by the next phase will be that. And then they asked me to be a manager. And again, I struggled again because like, right, my commission was changing and I was going to go from about 200K to 100K earner. And that's a big drop. But I was like, if I'm going to build an agency in the future, I really need to learn management. I need to be a manager. I need to understand how to get the best out of people and not just be the superhero team leader that I'd become. Yeah. So I did it, and we did that for a year or so, about a year and a half. And that's when, after I bought my property in December 15, going into 2016 was definitely going to be my final year. So I knew that 2016, I'd emptied my bank account in a deposit for a house in London. I was like, right, it's all about saving, learning. 2017, I'm going to launch my recruitment company, which was named HOXO.
Yeah. Okay. So back up. So you've got a real taste for success. You've completely abandoned education as a career. Totally, it's gone. You're still working with Amma, your business partner. He joined.
Right. No. So what happened was in 2014. So in September 2014. So 2 years in the first. So Amma was an education recruiter. So we got the same background. He was a teacher. He did primary school, and I did PE. He moved to Australia with me. He got a job at Randstad in the education division. Yeah. And then I got in the IT division. Then when we moved to London, he joined a company called ANZ UK, which had a Melbourne office and a London office. So he became their top guy at ANZ. So I was doing Venquis and he was doing ANZ. And in the first year of Venquis and ANZ, he earned way more money because education recruitment is quite an engine. It's a staffing engine, right? And he was knocking in deals for fun. He was like, they were a small business. Whereas I took a while to earn the commission. But then when my money started coming through, he was just watching my commission go through the roof, and his was plateauing. So in 2015, I blew his income out the water, and we're best mates. We lived together, and we were like, look, if we're going to do this together, how are we going to do it? So we were like, you can't have a recruitment company as an education department and an IT business change department. It doesn't work. So one of us is going to have to learn the logical thing would have been, I knew education. I'm a teacher background. Well, let's both do that.
Yeah.
But I'm the one earning more money. So surely the market I'm in is more profitable, more exciting. So anyway, I introduced him to my bosses, and he got a job at Venquis and became the head of a new division, the retail division.
Right.
So 2014. So he had about 2 years of learning before we were about to launch.
So at what point did you're obviously best mates, and you're on this journey together. At what point did one of you broach the other one and say, look, we are onto a good thing. Clearly we're both good at this. Let's go and do it ourselves. Let's chase that pot of gold. Who was driving it, and who was dragging the other one to the party?
You know what? It was to tell you the truth, it was quite a sad story. So on November the 11th, 2014, so Amr joined in September. So I remember he was 2 months in.
Yeah.
He got a call at about 6 p.m. So I was training one of my team in the corner of the room, and Amr got a call, and he turned and looked at me. And I mean, Amr's Indian, right? And his face was white.
Yeah.
And he looked at me and he walked out the office. So I was like, fuck's sake, what's going on? Anyway, I'm getting a bit emotional saying it, but his dad passed away that day in an accident. His dad was a cab driver, and the cab, he basically parked it outside his house and left the handbrake off. And then it was going into a main road. So his dad chased the car and got trapped underneath it. Anyway, he gets a call at 7 o'clock at night, pissing rain, November, dark, telling him his dad's just passed away. And we were both like, what the fuck? Like, what do you do? So anyway, he runs off, as you do. And I go back to the flat with my other housemate. And, oh, mate, I was blown away by it. Like, it was the worst thing that we went through. And then after that day, we both, once the dust settled, we were like, we've got to do this. Like, we've got to do something together now. Like, life's so short,
Yeah.
And working for someone else's empire, we can only do that for so long. So, bloody hell, it gets me going thinking about that. Was a horrible moment, but that day was it. And do you know what? The thing about me and Amr is unique, that it wasn't one driving the other.
No.
It was in proper mutual, looking in each other's eyes, going, right, let's do it. So the funny side of the story, though, where I'm not as emotional, he'd probably be more emotional, was the day I told him, let's do something different. Because we then spent 2 years planning a recruitment company in 2015, 2016. We came up with the name HOXO.
Yeah.
We had everything done. Like, we'd even bought Bullhorn. Like, we had fucking everything ready, right? And I was going on this journey where I'd been in recruitment in that market longer. All right. So I'd done 4-5 years. He'd done 2.
Yeah.
So I kind of was a bit older in the tooth. I'd had more time management. I'd had less time on the phone to candidates and clients in the last year than he had. So he was like billing, doing deals. I was doing deals through people, but really just looking at the strategic side of it in the last year. And I started to, when we looked at our restrictive covenant contract, it was really clear that I was fucked, basically, because my market is a square mile, and I knew everyone. Like, I genuinely knew everyone. I was like, how do I make money in 6 months when I can't ring anyone? My contract was candidates or clients. You've interacted with them. Like, and you know what? My bosses have been so good to me. Like, they'd been brilliant. I wasn't leaving due to any negativity. So I was like, last thing I want is to burn a bridge and they come after me with a contract. So I was like, I'd had this brainwave that when I watched content online, I'd seen people producing video content on YouTube and Instagram. I was like, what if I did that? And Amma was like, what? I was like, what if for 6 months, I'm just going to talk to the insurance market on LinkedIn about recruitment, about the market, about what I'm doing, about HOXO, and just try and get views all the time. And he was like, what are you talking about? I was like, well, look, I can't ring anyone, but my contract doesn't say I can't produce content that they watch. It doesn't say anything about that. So I could still have my face every day in front of these people, but not have to ring them and not break any rules. And he was like,
sorry to interrupt. So as a recruiter at Venquist, you'd never done a single piece of content?
Not a thing. Never. Nothing.
Okay.
I think I was featured in their employee brand video once. But yeah, nothing, mate. No history. Wasn't even like, a guy on the weekend who was Instagram storying myself. I had none of that. But I fancied I could do it. I did enjoy watching stuff on YouTube and Instagram. And I started researching marketing. I started looking into it. And I found myself getting quite obsessed with it. I was reading a lot. I was watching a lot.
Yeah.
And then I said to Amma, right, we're going to build a business on brand. Our agency is going to be like the most dynamic, forward-thinking recruitment company in the market. Let's go and find a marketing agency to help us.
Yeah.
Let's go find a business that can do it. So we spoke to a few, and they really just didn't get recruitment whatsoever, and they were really underwhelming. The ones that did know recruitment, again, were flat, and I was like, so I found a mate who was working in marketing in Manchester that I grew up with, who said he'd love to help. So we were like, right, you can help us. And he was going freelance at the time. We wanted to do some freelance work. So we're like, cool, you help HOXO. Then what happened was I spoke to a few recruitment owners I knew about what I was doing, just to get a bit of insight. And they were like, we'll buy that. And I was like, buy what? And they were like, whatever you're going to do for yourself, we'll buy it if it works. And I was like, okay, well, I can't tell you it's going to work yet, but I think it will. Anyway, the more I spoke to them, actually, I managed to secure about 4 or 5 contracts before I even started. So they were paying me $2,000 a month. So I was earning about $10,000 a month from month 1 before even starting this out. So we were like, there's something in this. So we were going to have HOXO, the recruitment company, and HOXO Media, the marketing agency that was going to help non-competing brands do what I did.
Yeah.
Anyway, we said, when we signed these new contracts, we said, well, why don't we hold off on the recruitment brand for 6 months? Because, we'll burn the covenant away that way. We'll focus on this. We'll give it everything we've got. If it doesn't work, fuck it. We know we can earn money in that market. And if it does, then we've got 2 businesses. And we never launched the recruitment company because we were so big. Like we just went for it and we loved it. And, we didn't know what we were doing. We had no idea at the time. Mark did, the marketeer. He had a good idea. But
what did the people around you who had seen you be so successful as recruiters, like your loved ones, your family and friends, what did they say when you said, actually, we've abandoned the idea of being a recruitment business, which we're actually very good at, and we're going to go and do this thing called inbound marketing, which nobody does?
I think at first they didn't believe it. Like especially my bosses. When I told the bosses what we're doing, they were like, "Nah, like you're lying. You're just going to come out and you're going to be a competitor." And I was like, "I don't think we are. Like, that's not the plan now." And then when I told my family, I don't know, my mum's one of them. She's like, whatever makes you happy, son. That kind of attitude. She doesn't get involved. She doesn't really need to know the detail. My younger brother was a recruitment owner at the time in Sydney. So he launched a company called The Drive Group in Sydney, which he's sold and his stake, and now he's got a marketing agency. And he thought I was an idiot. He's like, "What are you talking about? Like, this is nonsense." And then I think it was more the reaction once I started producing content. So I had a load of video content I put out after about 4 weeks, and all my old colleagues were just like laughing at it and just like messaging me. And there was pictures of me going around WhatsApp groups. I was called HOMO Media in WhatsApp groups for fun. But do you know what? I really enjoyed it. Like I really liked doing something different. I really enjoyed getting out there. One thing I really enjoyed was meeting other recruitment companies, because I'd been in one. I'd been quite institutionalized, but I understood everything they were saying. Like I just got it. I understood their brand, and then I was able to translate that into what my mate was doing in marketing. And between us, we were coming up with some really cool ideas. Yeah. So people definitely questioned it. I think most people thought it was a fad, and I'll go back to doing what I was doing. My wife, do you know what? She said the same thing. She was like, I thought it was ridiculous, but I did also think that if you're that committed to doing something, you'll do it. Like you'll work it out. She was like, you've everything else you've done well, so you'll probably work it out.
At any point, have you ever regretted not running the recruitment business and the media business parallel?
Not regretting that, because that would have been too much work. Wouldn't you? I don't think we'd have done it well enough. We would have been failing. We would have been average at both. I've definitely had times where I've questioned, what am I doing? Like, why did I not just carry on what I was good at? Because one thing about marketing agencies is they don't make the money recruitment companies make. They don't, you know, I can sign a contract for £3,000 a month for a year, but I've got to then pay for the whole team to do the work. So the margin in there is so small. And you've then got loads of people doing loads of work with loads of question marks, loads of, you know, there's a lot in there that I wasn't knowledgeable. I was used to putting a contractor in that was basically profit, that, you know, I'd give a call once a month, every quarter, and check on them. The work I did before signing a contract was harder in recruitment. Now it's a more straightforward process. Yeah. But when you sign a contract in marketing, you then have to start the work.
Yeah.
And it's an ongoing amount of work. It's a never ending amount of work. So that took some time to get used to. And, you know, when we had low days, when we got rejected and people took the piss or whatever, like, yeah, there was times where I was like, fuck this, let's just go back. Let's just go and do what we're good at. But then something kept saying to me, do you know what? No, I believe in this. I woke up excited about this. Like, I love what I'm doing. And I'm confident the industry's turning. And I remember I started the business in March 2017. And in September, LinkedIn launched the live video function. So not live, the native video function. So up until that point, you could only post a YouTube clip onto LinkedIn. And that made such a difference, because that was when you started to see the walking and talking videos of people. And I remember my first one of them got like just under 250,000 views, I think, which you couldn't get that now if you tried. Wow. But to me, it was like we got in at the right time, because the industry was just turning, just changing. In those early days, I was on the phone for 8 hours a day with recruitment owners who were just trying to work out what the hell we did. And they were
it's funny to say that. Only today, right? I was looking for something in my sent items that I'd sent to you, something to do with the academy, and I stumbled across my very first email to you. And I don't know the date. I don't know, 2.5 years ago. And it was a very simple email. It said, "Hi, Sean, you don't know me. My name is Pete Watson, Mint Recruitment. Mate, forgive the ignorant question, but what exactly do you guys do?" And that was it. And I just left it, because I'd seen you around, and the noise was great and it was exciting, but I still didn't quite understand in my head what you guys did. And then you got one of you guys to ring me. And then I suppose you then embarked on, it would have been fascinating, like a 3.5 year journey of educating an industry of ignorant fools like me who just didn't get it.
No, it was crazy. I mean, early on in my journey, so in I think it was 2017, we launched in March, and I hired Hisham Azuz in May 2018. So Hisham in June 2017 asked me to be a guest writer on his blog that he did in his bedroom as a recruiter. And then he asked me to be his mentor. So he rang me up and said, "Look, I really like what you're doing. I want to do better in recruitment. Can you mentor me?" So I used to have a weekly or bi-weekly video call on a Saturday morning with Hisham with his curly hair in his house back in 2017. And again, that was another sign that there was people out there that felt the same. Like, this guy had no recruitment experience, really. Was managed a very different way than me. So I actually coached him a lot about just doing recruitment. Like, I just treated him as if he was in my team, and it kept my skills up talking about it. But then I also talked to him about video content and what to produce and how to do it. He got me in and pitched his boss, who turned me away. And then he ended up turning around to me in early 2018 saying, "Look, I want to work for you. I'm prepared to take a pay cut, move to London to work for you." I was like, fucking hell, that's big. So that was about a year after we started. We'd grown to about 8 people by then, I think. And we had quite a lot of freelance people we were working with. We'd just signed an office in East London in Bow, which was amazing, but an absolute shithole at the same time. It was like 20-minute walk from a station. It had no floor. It was like sticky, this weird. It was an old warehouse they'd converted and forgot to convert half of it. The toilets didn't work. There was no toilet paper. There was no soap. It was cheap, but...
Yeah, well, mate, it was at the place with the exposed brick.
No, the current office got some exposed brick. The old one is just, it had no heating. It was massive. It had 2 floors. We built a podcast studio upstairs. But that was so exciting. We moved there, and then Hisham joined, and then me and him started producing video nearly every single day. And that was where the education took it to another level. So we started, really talking about this whole concept of personal brand and how you can, because we knew it was working. Like, we were putting out video content and written content daily and getting leads all the time. Like, people were just going, Sean, can we find out what you're doing? Sean, can we do that? The first 3 months of HOXO, I just picked up the phone all day. And after that, I don't think I've ever done it since. I've never just rang a company and gone, hey, have you thought about marketing? Not once since mid 2017. Because what we did was we had the attitude that we're going to try and help this market. We're going to try and educate and help the market. I'm going to try and help recruitment owners. I'm going to try and explain to them all this shit I'm learning and I'm gathering momentum with. I'm going to give them most of the knowledge for free. I'm going to give it away. Like, what do you do with the aim of, once they work out that's relevant, who they're going to go to, who they're going to use. And I think that definitely helped. It massively helped. And then 2018 was an interesting year because we then overhired. I remember we hired a lot of junior people and we cocked that right up. We hired a load of juniors and we just didn't have the infrastructure to train them. Not like sales, more like account managers, content writers, all these guys that had really raw skills, but we were nowhere near good enough to train them. And we didn't have the infrastructure to train them. So we ended up going up to about, I think I had 17 people in the summer of 2018 on some form of payroll, running around this office. It looked like a university halls at one point. And then I cut it back down to about 7 by November 2018. And that was where, once we made that mistake, we then completely changed it. It's mental, isn't it? You've recruited for that many years, but you lose that for yourself. You kind of make really rash decisions for yourself.
Probably a very, very valuable lesson to go through so early on. It's something that you have to go through.
There's a weird feeling when you own a business, a bit like a vanity feeling. When people want to work for you, it's quite flattering. You're like, oh yeah, they want to work for me. They like HOXO, blah, blah, blah. That shouldn't mean they should get the job. And I would never have had that attitude before. But anyway, I think I got sucked up in that whole headcount vanity piece as well. And then 2019 came. That's when I started. We launched the podcast. We launched the RAG. And since then, things have just gone from strength to strength, team-wise, quality of people, processes, client base. It's been an amazing journey. Hisham left last May. So after 12 months, which was really actually difficult because put a lot of time into him. But the reason he left was because he wanted to do his own thing. And I was like, you know what? I can't hold anyone back. Like, I've done that. I did the exact same thing before. He got there much faster. I mean, he was only with us a year, but smart boy, smart boy.
And he's doing great things, right? He's doing great things, but presumably you guys are good mates and you'll be good allies in the industry and continue to indirectly work with each other.
I've got nothing but good stuff. Nothing but good stuff to say about him and the attitude the boy had. He was an animal when he came in. He just soaked up information. Really clever boy. Like not so much like, I'm not saying like just purely academic clever, but just the way he approached everything we did and the way he soaked it up. And you know, he'll go on to some really, really good things. And do you know, he's probably the best case study that I've got that, you know, building a brand, what it can do. Because in a year, he's gone from a lad in his bedroom to building a company that's earning. He'll be earning 6 figures now and easy. And he's got this amazing job. He's just planning to fly to Australia to host events. Like, he's doing some amazing things that I'm proud that we had an impact on. But you know, we've moved on. And coming into COVID, we were in a really strong position. Really strong.
I mean, look, and that's the fascinating thing about your story, about the HOXO Media story. You spent three and a half years educating an industry and having conversations with people about in the recruitment industry about something that's probably absolutely alien to them, but making real headway and getting real momentum. And then COVID happens, and the irony is there has never been a time that's been presented to us where we have the ability and that moment in time to focus on something like this, and it's never been more important. How has it changed your business?
Well, the first thing was, unfortunately, we had to make some quick decisions, and there's a couple of people that we didn't feel like we needed in the future. Like we just felt like we'd hired them leveraging growth, and we didn't feel like the growth was there. So we had to make those calls, which was sad and difficult. But so we shedded the team down slightly. We found that we had a lot of like just random costs that we'd accumulated, like, subscriptions to things and just shit we didn't need. So we went through a really good exercise at the beginning to lower the cost base of the business, and some really, really, really ridiculous things we've been paying for that we'd just not even noticed. And then one thing as well, because I told you we'd started hiring remote people about a year before. I don't feel like we had a really well integrated culture with the people that remote and the guys in the office. And I think one thing it's done, this period has brought us all actually closer, because it's put us all on the same level playing field. And it's shown some people have really stood out in our business that have, I mean, everyone's worked their absolute nuts off. We've not furloughed anyone. We've not had any time off. Some people have had no days off. I've had no days off apart from bank holidays. We've literally ran at it 100 miles an hour. And it's paying off. Like we've managed to retain almost all of our clients. We've been signing new businesses again. We launched the academy. We went daily on the podcast. Yeah. We've done a lot of things. I mean, the decision to go daily on the podcast was one a bit like the decision to do the 75 hard challenge. I was sat there over the weekend, just gobsmacked by what had happened. But I was like, how can I help? It's always my question. I ask myself, how can I help people I care about? How do I help the recruitment community? How do I help my team? How do I help my wife? How do I help people? If I help first, the rest will come. Yeah. And my show was getting about 6,000 monthly plays by doing an episode a week. And it was all around recruitment journeys, a bit similar to you, recruitment growth. So it was telling the story of how Harvey Nash grew, or Lawrence Harvey, or whatever. And I felt that's probably not the most sensitive topic right now. I don't know. This week, does anyone really want to know how you built a big agency, or do they want to know how the hell they're going to navigate through tough times? So I'd already been planning the RAG report, which was going to be a Friday show about news, just being more of a jovial news show, just chatting to people about what's hot, what's not, trying to be funny with it. But I decided on that Monday, I was like, well, I'm going to host the RAG report now daily through lockdown, and it's going to be about how the hell we're going to navigate through COVID. And at first, that was me trying to interview everyone or anyone I could get my hands on. And I was doing 3 interviews a day. And it was just because we weren't doing, we were in the business, we were focused on the business, but I kind of pulled myself out a bit and said, Amma, you run what's going on. Billy and Amma were just like in the business. And I was just going, right, get myself out into the market and work out what our customers are going through. And it was incredible. Like, we went from 6,000 to 10,000 plays inside 4 weeks. And then we've now got up to about 15,000 plays inside 3 months. So we've tripled the listener base.
Mind-boggling.
Yeah, it's crazy. And it's been intense. It's been difficult. Don't get me wrong. It's really hard. I've had to schedule. I only record at 2:00 every day, and I don't negotiate on that, because otherwise my whole day's gone. Yeah. Sometimes people let you down, and you're like, crap, I've got to get on and get an episode out. We got sponsorship agreed. So obviously Vincere are kind enough to sponsor both of our shows, which is wicked. They've been great. Odro guys have been amazing. They actually, Ryan came on the show, and then we had a chat, and it just felt right. The brands are so similar. Love what they're doing. And the Rise guys were one of our clients that, again, they help the same community. So having sponsors has been amazing. But going daily on the show has enabled me to get so close to the clients, so close to the industry, understand what people are going through, hopefully help people. That's the whole point. The interesting thing now,
mate, in the midst of all this chaos and doom and gloom, you've managed to find your place again.
I hope so, yeah. But the one thing I've learned that people are getting sick of talking about COVID though now, and we are moving the conversation to some stories of previous growth and. Yeah. More interestingly, the new world, the digital world that we faced in. I'm genuinely interested and excited about how our industry is going to evolve now. Similar to what we talked about on my show with you. What is the future of recruitment businesses? And from all of the episodes I've done, from all the experience I've got, I genuinely believe, not just saying it because I own a marketing agency, but I genuinely believe that brands are starting to really wake up to the fact that marketing is important more than ever. When a shock comes to you like this crisis, your brand is what people remember. Your brand is what people can see when they're not on the phone. Your brand is what people is the reason people will come back to you Because you might lose all your team. You might have to scale down to 3 people. So you haven't got the manpower to be on the phone to 100 people an hour. You've got to have other things. So, and so many businesses have said to me, Sean, we want to be so much fitter post lockdown. So like I said, I had a load of cost in my business. Yeah. Well, 70% of a recruitment company's cost is headcount, right? So many said, if we can have this brand and this content engine and automation engine helping a smaller, leaner, more experienced crop of recruiters do better, that is the vision we have now, as opposed to just hiring loads of juniors and leveraging growth that way. And so I think it's going to spit out some really interesting businesses. It's going to change some businesses. And hopefully we can help be a part of that.
Mate, I think COVID has created 2 different types of recruitment beasts. I think a lot of businesses, a lot of recruiters, a lot of people, and I'm very happy to be honest about this, when COVID hit, a lot of people buried their head in the sands and just pulled the duvet over their heads and said, right, hopefully this will pass quickly. And I did that for a couple of weeks. I'm, not embarrassed to admit that at all. And then once you pull the duvet, or doona, as they call it in Australia, over your head, you think, right, okay, how can I be match fit? How can I use this to my advantage? So what would your message be to businesses who are still slightly under the doona, and they don't have any kind of online marketing campaign or strategy or presence? What should they be doing? And this is not just you necessarily plugging HOXO Media, but of course, let's do that as well. But what should they be doing? What should they be thinking about if they're not doing anything at all?
Well, I think, look, one of the biggest things about today's market is budgets are going to be low, right? People aren't going to want to spend a fortune on things that, in general, and especially things they've never done, because there's always a risk in there. So there's some really cool things that people can do themselves. And one thing is invest in their education. So like the Academy program I launched, there's lots of other ways out there apart from that. But the Academy program is fundamentally an education program for recruitment owners to learn from me over a 16-week period how to build their own content, how to produce their own stuff that gets engagement, that drives business effectively. Yeah. I've done it. I've taken 3 years of learning. I've done some great things. I've done some shit things. But one thing I've done is I've documented it and I've worked out what's worked, what doesn't work, how LinkedIn operates, like the platform. And everyone's going to be slightly different, but there are some fundamental things that everyone can follow. A bit like going, everyone's body's different. Everyone, some people are gluten intolerant, some people are lactose intolerant, but on the whole, if you eat a certain amount of calories and you train it, everyone will go through a similar thing. So there's some fundamental, almost KPIs and ideas you can approach to being successful. So educating yourself on that for a low cost. So you could probably find most of it on the line for free, but if you want it to be tailored around the recruitment market, especially for owners, then of course I can help. But then the second thing I would say is when you are going out to market in 2020, 2021, you do need to have a content plan, a strategy, because you simply have to look at the way people operate daily. You have to look at the way people do. Like we are now on a Zoom call having a conversation across the globe that we will distribute digitally. All right. That's how we're going to that's how I trade with all clients now. It's how we operate. It's how you buy your shopping via Sainsbury's online or Coles online. You go to Amazon every day. You go on Netflix. Everything we do is digital trading. It's going that way. So why wouldn't your processes and your business strategy go that way too? And if you're simply thinking about what you did in 1999, that's the world has moved on. I'm not saying it doesn't work. The world has moved on.
It alarms me how many recruitment businesses still believe the best way to work is the old school way. Do you think, in your opinion, do you think a recruiter can be successful today without any kind of online, social media, LinkedIn?
I think they can. I think they can, but with limitations. So if you think about it, like, of course you can pick up the phone, you can get older contacts, you've got to go on LinkedIn to look at candidates or your database and ring them up. Like I'm not saying the old school method does not work. I think that's the reason people haven't fucking invested earlier, because it does work. They can make a lot of money. There's a lot of agencies that do jack shit online and they make a lot of money. But are you trying to make money today, or are you trying to build a business that's set for the future? Are you thinking 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line? Because it's like saying your bank account today can afford the food in your, or it can afford the expenses and the lifestyle you need in June 2020. But if you are a sensible human who wants to live a better life in 5 years, you need to think about your financial strategy to save cash, invest cash, so that you're in a much better place then. If you only ever live month by month, you'll only ever be month by month. So it's the same sort of mindset. I think if you operate how the world is today only, then I think you're in dangerous territory. Like it will get harder and harder, and people will beat you. People will. I know people that have only done recruitment a couple of years, but the amount of content they've produced and the branding they've got, they're billing money that people would not have done the old school way. They wouldn't have done it. So I actually think the answer is a combination of the two. So if you can spend 30 minutes to an hour a day on your brand, on content, and the rest are doing what you've always done, you'll win. And slowly you'll see the time that you put into content and marketing and the time you bang on the phone will start to go the other way. Like me now, I don't pick up the phone anymore. It's all inbound digital inquiries, video calls based on the content we produce, as opposed to, doing a bit of content, but then getting on the phone and doing all the outbound stuff. So the combination is the strategies in the two. The big thing I think you've got to think about as well is, if you're a recruitment owner, if you've got people, you need your people to be doing the same thing. Like the compound effect of an agency having multiple people with a similar mindset online, it's like all going on the football pitch and playing a similar way. You can't have one amazing player and the rest are just shite, overweight and slow. You ain't going to win a game that way. So if you're thinking, I want to be the owner and leader of this company and I'm going to be digital savvy, content first, but all my recruiters are just going to sit in the corner and bang the phone, that won't work either. It needs to be a fully integrated plan. So everyone goes, right, my job is connecting with people on LinkedIn daily, engaging with people on LinkedIn. That means commenting on social posts. That means liking people's social posts. The amount of people that say to me, Sean, how do I get engagement on my LinkedIn? And I say, how much do you engage with other people? And they go, what do you mean? I'm like, well, on an average day, how many times do you write, like, comment on other people's stuff?
Yeah, I'm not great at that.
Next to never. All right, great. Well, why do you expect them to do it for you? What do you mean? Well, my content will be good. I'm like, yeah, well, hopefully it will be. But also, the land of reciprocal behavior says the more you engage with other people, the more they're fucking going to engage back. And it's a game. It's a game of tennis. Knock the ball over the net, get it back, knock it over, bam, bam, bam. Do you know what I mean? You can't play tennis without someone knocking it back. So you've got to think daily, are your recruitment teams and yourself, are you thinking about putting up one social post that's adding value, that's designed to help people, not saying I've got a job? Are you liking and commenting at least, well, I always say, like 10 people's and comment on 5? And are you clear on the strategy, the target audience you want to talk to? Because as a recruiter, I've done it. You can reactively work on any job. I could be given a .NET developer one day and a project manager the next, and I can go out there and find the talent. That's fine. But if we're saying from a marketing perspective, I want to build a brand, you have to hone in on a target type of person. Because what appeals to a project manager and a marketeer and a marketeer or a .NET developer is totally different. So by having a consistency in your approach online that's designed to hit a certain type of person, that will bring the opportunities through that will lead to the other things. So brand needs to be super niche, consistent, and you've got to look long term. If you're looking just today, I'm too busy, then you'll never do it.
So mate, let's talk about the world beyond COVID. What's the big picture plans for HOXO Media? What does global domination look like for you?
Yeah, it's been, you know what, I think we've always been quite clear that we wanted to really get to grips with the UK first. Like, we didn't want to run before we could walk. So we're doing really well over here, and I think our plan is to really grow the function and have get to a certain level of clients in the UK. But Australia, 100% on the agenda. The US will definitely be on the agenda. I think the fact is, recruitment globally, like looking at my academy today, I've had you in Australia, I've had a guy in Singapore, another guy in Sydney. I had yesterday a guy in Bangkok, people living on the West Coast, people on the East Coast of America.
Yeah.
Like, majority are actually British. Not all of them, but majority are Brits that have gone out with recruitment companies. But the point is, the industry is actually really similar in each of those locations, and branding is going to be more important in each region. So there is a need for what we're doing in each of those locations. It's just about the age-old problem of finding the right people, having the right process.
Yeah.
So we are definitely going to expand globally, and the academy as well. So at the moment, the academy is for recruitment owners, but in the next 4 weeks, the plan is to launch the agency consultant level academy. So, that bit I just said, we can train you, but if you've got 50 people, we can also start training them, because it's an L&D, it's an L&D strategy, because not every recruitment company wants us to manage their brand. Our agency is a managed service. We are the marketing department for the agency.
Yeah.
Whereas HOXO Academy is the done for you, is the DIY, the training program. So some people will want both, but many have said, we've got an internal person. Well, cool. Well, let's train them up. Let's give them the knowledge we've got. As long as the industry's moving forward, we're adding value.
And I probably shouldn't say this. I'm probably shooting myself in the foot, but it's pretty cost effective. It's not going to cost these people an arm and a leg, is it?
No, the academy, the current pricing strategy for the owner academy is, I think, compared to some other products that are out there, it's really reasonable. So works out £1,200 for a 4-month project. And that's if you pay it up front. If not, it's £100 a week if you pay it on a monthly basis. But we've already had, like yesterday, Tuesday, when I had my academy calls, one of the ladies in the first month has just done a 10K fee off the back of one of the posts I helped her with, which generated candidates, and jobs get called in. One guy, Mark Thomas. I'm just gonna. He messaged me on Facebook last night. Hang on. This guy is really. The one thing about the academy is, you're only going to get out what you put in, and it sounds ridiculous, but there are a few people that they're listening and they're learning, but they're probably not doing as much. Whereas this guy, Mark Thomas, who works for a company called Eames, has worked his absolute nuts off, and he messaged me last night. Mate, today I got two roles called in by a guy who I've known for a while, but mentioned he'd seen all my stuff on LinkedIn, and I've been doing some great stuff online. Both roles are 100K positions exclusive. So that, I mean, that's it. And he got 53,000 views on a post last week. I mean, how long would it take to phone 53,000 people? Yeah,
that's mad.
It's a guy who did nothing before as well. It's not like when he was advanced. He was doing nothing, but he knew he needed to do it.
Yeah. Well, mate, I'm a fan. I'm a believer. I'm on board. I'll spread the message in Australia as much as I possibly can. Mate, thank you so much for your time and telling us about your journey. It's an interesting one.
It's different, but
it's very different.
Yeah, I hope. Look, if anyone wants to reach out and ask any questions as well, please do. I'll always get back to you. It might take me a day or so. But cheers for this, Pete. It's nice to be on the other side. You were a great guest of mine, so hopefully I've offered some value back to your audience. No,
mate, absolutely. But I am interested to look at the clock. It's 9:10. You said you were only going to talk for 45 minutes. I don't think you could talk for only 45 minutes, Sean.
No, I don't think I'm capable of it.
Yeah, but mate, it was all good stuff, mate. Thank you so much for being involved. And I'm no doubt we'll speak again soon. I look forward to seeing you at the academy next week.
My pleasure. Cheers, bud.
Cheers, pal. All the best.
Thank you.